Welcome to Do It for the Gram and Enneagram podcast with your host, certified Enneagram coach, Milton Stewart, where we do it for the Enneagram, not Instagram. We make moves to improve our lives and those in our community. So as you know, we are on the series of defense mechanisms. And so if you did not check out the first two episodes with Elizabeth Worm, it's going to be really good episodes to check out before you check out your specific Enneagram 2 defense mechanism episode. But if you're like one of those people who are like, hey, I only listen to when I see my type pop up, that's fine too. You can still listen in and get a bunch out of it. So let's go ahead and kick it off. This is about the Enneagram Type 2 defense mechanism. Let's go, intro music. Super excited to announce my new partnership with BetterHelp. This episode is actually sponsored by BetterHelp. If you are struggling, BetterHelp can help. You'll receive 10% off your first month when you sign on using betterhelp.com/do-it. So I'm super excited about this partnership that me and BetterHelp have entered into, because in this point where everything that we're doing right now to connect with people is more virtual, it is so important. Mental health, I think that aligns perfectly with things that we're trying to do, things that I want to do, and anybody that I would refer or think that could be potentially beneficial to the audience. And I think BetterHelp is definitely one of them. BetterHelp is basically, it's online counseling or therapy. So you're able to actually get some counseling or therapy depending on what's going on, from licensed counselors and therapists around the country. And you get to be able to get some of that one-on-one mental checkup that you may need, and BetterHelp's able to help you. So just go to betterhelp.com/do-it, and you'll get a 10% discount for your first month. What are Enneagram defense mechanisms? So they're really tricky because they look very similar to your Enneagram type. And so they can be kind of hard to notice, even though they are meshing really, really well with your own Enneagram type. And so it's very important to know what they are and what defense mechanisms do. They really stop us from using the totality of our heart. It stops us from being able to address some of the deeper things within our heart so we can really connect to people. And so that's a big part of what the defense mechanism is stopping. It's like something has triggered your ego, kind of tripped it up, and your defense mechanism is like, oh, hold up. You're going against what, my type structure is all about, and I don't want to go there. This place is a little bit scarier or more vulnerable than what my personality says supposed to show. One of the things is, the reason why it's so important to understand the defense mechanism and to see it within yourself is because if you do not, you will not be able to do deeper inner work. You will be stuck at a surface level of growth, and that is as far as you will get. And you will stay there and you'll be like, oh, this is me. And that whole time you're just stuck at your defense mechanism. Every time something triggers your ego or trips it up, and you're actually needing to do a deeper dive, a deeper look, deeper inner work, you're not going to be able to actually do it because you don't notice that your defense mechanism is actually operating, and you are just running along, and it's driving your car, and you're in the back seat or you're in the passenger seat, just going along for the ride, and you're not really taking control and doing that inner work to move past it. So I'm going to introduce the Type 2's defense mechanism using the Law of Three, which is a way that I've gotten from the narrative tradition. And so the Type 2 believes it is helpful and needed as an ideal, okay? As an ideal. So everyone probably knows a Type 2 who is helpful. Very helpful, and even maybe sometimes overly helpful. People may know a Type 2. And so in order for the idealization, remember, so we're going to make the Law of Three, which that means we're making like a triangle. So at one end of this triangle, we have I am helpful and needed, okay? In order for this idealization of themselves to stay intact, They must avoid, and if you can look at like a line, you create a line going straight across, and at the other end of the line, right now, this triangle is they must avoid their own needs and rejection. So they must put it all the way over here. So you have these opposing things, you know, you have these, I avoid my own needs and rejection. All right. If you believe that you are helpful and needed, and not that you can be helpful and needed, and you actually feel like you have to avoid your own needs and rejection, you get what's actually called the defense mechanism of repression. And so this triangle is complete, but it's going down because it's not actually a healthy movement for you. It is something that is stopping you from resolving some key issues within the type structure. So you get what happens, what comes together at the end of this triangle at the very bottom as repression and this law of 3. So what is repression really for the type 2? So it's a pattern of holding on to strong emotional energy, such as frustration and anger towards other people without expressing it. And it is a pattern of repressing your own needs, wants, and desires. And this is super interesting for the 2 because a lot of times, if you think about the 2 who's looking to, seemingly personality-wise, looking to give and to help and all these different things, it's actually really tricky because the personality type of the 2 is so focused on other people, it starts to literally repress its own needs, wants, desires, the stuff it wants to say, it wants to really express. And so that becomes a really difficult place for a 2. It even feels weird for them to be able to get kind of past that and be like, oh, I can receive. Oh, I can express. Oh my goodness. So that is a tricky place for the 2. So what does this defense mechanism look like in real world terms, right? So it can come out as emotional manipulation. As we know, 2s can be, and if you understand Enneagram more and more, 2s can be very manipulative, just to be honest. And manipulation in itself is not, quote unquote, a bad thing. Like you can manipulate situations for the better. You can, like manipulation, if you think about it from an almost empirical standpoint, it's not like a bad thing. It's just like a manipulation. It's like it's a vying to, get some type of reaction or to do something like that. It's not always a bad thing. But in this case, when repression, defense mechanism of repression is in play, emotional manipulation is real bad because 2s, unfortunately, on the unhealthy side, are really good at doing that. They can play the victim card well and make other people be to blame in situations. And they also can do certain things because they're always paying attention to other people and their needs and all the small things they want or they do. And so they know, like emotionally, or things to do, to say, or not do, or to say, to kind of get people going a little bit or to like kind of put things in motion. So they have to be very careful because it can come out that way. Also, emotional temper tantrums, because you got to think about it. Repressing yourself for so much and so long, it has to come out some type of way. And so sometimes when it gets to too much, then it can come out as a strong emotional temper tantrum. And it can show up in emotional aggression. It can show up in self-loathing. It can show up in a various ways of actually like emotions actually coming out that have been repressed for so long. And they're coming out strong because 2s have strong and abundant emotions, but now they're coming out from within themselves because beforehand, they were so focused on everyone else's emotions that they never tended to address, sat with, honored their own emotions. And so that's how it can kind of look when you're looking at a 2 or a person. It's like you've been repressing things. That's why it's coming out like this. Does your workplace stink because the culture sucks? Are you tired of tolerating people and wish you could all work together cohesively? Does going to work give you instant anxiety? If you say yes to any one of these, you should probably quit your job. But Since you aren't going to quit your job, you should call Kaizen Careers. At Kaizen Careers, we are all about improving personal and workplace performance. We use a unique tool called the Enneagram. The Enneagram helps individuals and organizations become more self-aware. That self-awareness lends into helping organizations with communication, leadership, and conflict management, ultimately turning self-awareness into self-mastery and creating healthy workplace performance so you can improve your services and bottom line. You can reach Kaizen Careers at kaizencareers.com or 901-334-1644. All right, so how do you counteract the defense mechanism of repression for the two? Well, if you think about it, a lot of times you can simply flip the defense mechanism and do the opposite thing, and it helps. So the opposite of repression is expression, right? So express yourself, all right? So one of the practical things you can do is when you're alone, literally journal what you need to be able to express or things that you're repressing, okay? Journal those things down so that you will know inside what's going on. Because two, sometimes their personality type is so like affixed to looking at everybody else and seeing what they need and what they want that they really can have a hard time not only figuring out and knowing what they want personally, but also trying to decipher between, is this my emotion or is it their emotion that I'm feeling right now? So spending time alone to journal what you have been repressing and what you feel you need to express is super important. Then, actually, those things you've written down, communicate them outwardly towards other people and express yourself. Find creative ways to express yourself and to like certain people that you need to have better boundaries with. Express those things you have written down that you were repressing before if you can. That's definitely super helpful. And so that may shift some of your friendships, your relationships, all your ships. It may shift some of them, and you may end up losing some of them, and not in a way that's bad, in a way that's like probably healthy for you, especially if the relationship or the ship was set up in a way that's not helpful or for both people and not beneficial, not mutually beneficial and mutually bonding. So you have to look out for that, but that will be okay. If they can't accept you expressing yourself, then you should not be in that ship. Relationship, friendship, situationship, whatever ship you got. It's a whole lot of ships out there nowadays. And so that's one way. The other way is don't park at nice. Be authentic to yourself. So when I say that, my good friend Zara, she's been on the podcast before, and she mentioned this word. She said this phrase. She said, if a two says that they are nice, they have a whole lot of work to do and they're lying, because there's a lot going on beneath that. And so what I mean by don't park at nice, a lot of times we like to park our personalities at a certain place. I'm a good person. I'm a nice person. I'm this, I'm that. Parking ourselves at this destination as if we don't embody the opposite of it at times as well. Because we're not parked, our personalities, we aren't parked at one place. Like we are humans. So we go from we might do some good things one day and good things that same, and some bad things that same day. We might do some nice things that one day and some mean things that one day. All these different things. I mean, like we're human. The thing is, we want to obviously do more positive, beneficial, good, healthy things in the day that outweigh a lot of the stuff that we do that may not be healthy and honor our humanity and other people's humanity. But let's be real, we humans. And so these things happen. So don't park it nice, be authentic to yourself. And so by be authentic, it's going to be like really looking at how do you really want to show up and how do you really need to communicate to yourself about what you want. The authenticity to yourself is really looking inside and not just at everyone else, but really looking inside and be like, what do I need or want in this situation? And for a two, that's a tough question at times, but it's a great question to ask yourself. What do I want and need right now? It's huge. It's super important. So it may lead to you not having a clue, but the more you ask yourself that question, the more it'll start to come up a little more in the things that you do. And the more your unconscious and conscious and your body and your heart will start to start to do a little journey, start to search for a little bit more, because now we're putting in information that challenges the ego structure, okay? So thank you so much for listening. That's all I have for the type 2's defense mechanism. Short, sweet, to the point, and practical, which I love. So one thing I want to remind you of, my book is up for pre-order, Motivate, Elevate, and Ameliorate. a practical Enneagram book to help transform your life. That is out on pre-order right now. It will be in the link in the show notes. It's also on my website. It's also on IG. You can go there and pre-order. It only lasts until April 15th, the pre-order period, because with the company that I'm doing this with, I am doing my best to try to get a big time publisher so that I can actually have them pay for the upfront cost, all the things and market all that stuff. So I'm trying, my goal is to get 1,000. Right now, as this recording, I'm a little over 200, probably got 2.5 weeks to go. So I got some hustling to do, but it would be great if you could go pre-order that book. This will not be like any Enneagram book you've ever bought before, because that's just how I do it. I have a different and unique experience, and it'll be some like this podcast. It'll be practical, down to earth, breaking it down, but also giving you a rich integrity of the Enneagram. So check that out. Also, podcasting is not free. And so, not for me, it is for listeners. And so, for those who would want to become part of the Patreon community, you can join that community at patreon.com/do-it-for-the-gram. I'm always thankful for that. Super thankful for my Patreon community. Absolutely wonderful, amazing people. And I am putting more information there and different unique tools and different things I come by that group gets exclusively. Also, one really cool program coming up that I will be teaching. I just finished the first cohort of my Kaizen Complete Enneagram program, which is a 12-week Enneagram program, community-based learning, where it's a certificate program and where you do your work. You go in with a community of people. We just had our last session literally probably 2 days ago, and it was absolutely amazing. People did not want it to end. They'll probably be on the podcast sharing their experience. You talk about some deep growth. You talk about development. You talk about really learning the Enneagram with integrity. That program is doing it. So I'm starting my second cohort August 5th. Mark your calendars, August 5th. And for those who join early, you have the capabilities to have a discount on what you're paying. So if you order before May, you'll be able to have a discount on joining that course. I mean, I'm only taking 20 people as well because I need a healthy community of people, and not too big where it's hard to get that balance of like real good community amongst everyone there. So check that out. That's also on the website, and it'll also be in the show link, the notes in the show link. And then besides that, the Enneagram now has the IEA, International Enneagram Association, now has this thing called Ennea groups. And Ennea groups is very specific groups towards different types of people who want to join different types of groups, right? So the group that I'm leading is the BIPOC group that is focused on a lot of BIPOC issues for Black and brown people, and a lot of how do we engage the world, especially in a world where we need to be able to do some anti-racism work as well, because clearly we know that's still going on, unfortunately, right? But how do we actually come together and communicate and heal and different things? But there's also a lot of other Ennea groups out there, which is super cool, around great issues. And so you're talking about being able to learn about the Enneagram and community with other people who have like very similar goals and pushes in this world. Beautiful place to be. So that is at the International Enneagram Association. You can check that out. That may not be in the show link, but if you go to their website, you can find the Ennea groups. All right. So that's about all I have, besides a free ebook if you go to my website and check that out. And that's about all I have for this episode. So for type 2s, if you are feeling like you are about to repress something or have been repressing long, take a deep breath, pause, make a better choice, and do it for the gram, the Enneagram, of course. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Do It for the Gram podcast editing and mixing is done by Saw and Sign. Information will be in the show notes.